All right. Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Jump Pod, a podcast from the Unioverse where you get a jump. You see what I did there? So clever, out of the gates, on all things Web3 and gaming. My name is Chris Albrecht. I am with the Universe, and I am joined with my co-host Grant Hart. What's up, Grant?
How's it going?
Are you excited? First episode?
I'm stoked. Yeah, this is something I'm really excited to do. I think, I'm excited for our first guest today, but I think it's fun to talk about Web3 and what's going on lately.
Yeah, and we couldn't have picked a better first guest. This guy, he is the nicest person in Web3. Ask anybody. He is a gentleman, a scholar. He is the great. Oh, I got to know him back in the day. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, my Kabam sweatshirt, where I first met Rob, where he worked on a number of hit mobile game titles like Marvel Contest of Champions and Dragons of Atlantis and what was the Camelot one?
Kings of Camelot.
Yeah, Kings of Camelot. Anyway, he is Rob Oshima. He is the co-founder of Block Tackle, which is developing the Web3 game SkateX. Welcome to the Jump Pod, Rob.
Thanks. Always fun to be on shows with the Kabamly.
A lot of people don't know this. My lifelong mentor and the best mentor I could ever ask for. So very excited to be having him on as our first guest. Rob is also a mentor in my professional life, but also my personal life, and it's awesome to talk to him.
Rob's the best. He's the best. We couldn't have come up with a better guest than Rob. Honestly. Yeah. Then this whole half hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever we do, is just going to be us blowing sunshine your way, Rob. So I hope you're comfortable with that.
No, it's super awkward. Going to be.
Well, here, so not only are you not only are you co-founder of Block Tackle. Well, first, tell us a little bit about Block Tackle and SkateX.
Sure. Block Tackle is a game studio, and our first title is SkateX, and it's and our first foray into extreme sports, making an MMO with skating.
And how are you working Web3 into the game?
Yeah, it's pretty light, to be honest. So we think Web3 is pretty exciting, but it has a long way to go for gamers. There are a lot of things that are really exciting, and the exciting piece for us that we're going to jump off point is kind of player ownership. We really care that players can really own the assets that they kind of evolve in the game and make better, and that they should participate in any creation of the utility of their assets. So that's one of the ways that we're really excited that the players can own the game assets.
Yeah, so people could go right now. You guys are on Solana, right?
Yep. Hopefully a lot of the things like players might not necessarily know, they don't need a whole bunch of blockchain or crypto savvy. It's just, I own a skateboard, and this is what I get to use in the game. And you could personalize it in your stats, and the things that you do with it are owned by the player.
Awesome.
Yes, you could buy a skateboard today, and that's what you're going to get to skate on.
Yeah, so you could go to like Magic Eden, or where else could people find SkateX skateboards?
Sure, any marketplace. So even OpenSea, Fractal, Magic Eden, you could buy a board today.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit. So the entire sort of Web3 space, we're in this crypto winter. Where do you think we are? Do you think we're still in a deep freeze, or are we starting to see the thaw, or where are we at in your estimation?
I don't know. It depends, right? It's all relative. Like from where it began, it's a lot more robust, and the dollar value of any cryptocurrency is a lot higher than it used to be, but it's also a lot lower than it used to be. So if you're talking about like as a developer, like it's the environment to raise money is harder. So if that is a winter, then we're kind of in the beginning of winter. I don't see that thawing for a little while. And as a player, though, I'm pretty excited. There's going to be amazing games coming out very shortly. It's not like a 3-year time horizon thing. So for games to come out, I'm pretty excited by that. I think that there are exciting things happening. For NFTs, it might be kind of like a winter, and but for me, we're just building, so it doesn't really matter what the big environment is. It's just we have our heads down and building, and we'd be doing that if it was a really healthy like frothy environment too. If it was crypto summer or if it was winter, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're just in a stage right now where we're personally building. So sorry, I'm not trying to avoid your question at all. It's more it doesn't matter what it is. We're going to build.
A lot of people, because there is a certain sentiment towards Web3 gaming right now, but defenders of it say that it's a lot like the early days of free to play. And you were at the dawn of both, right? Do you see a direct comparison between the early days of free to play and the early days of Web3 gaming?
I do, and I would characterize it as just when anything's new, and I don't even have it in the phases of Web 2 or Web 3 or free to play or mobile, or it's just like, or social gaming, like it's gaming, and there are going to be new things, and like we're very comfortable with how things are done. And one of the ways that I think about it is there's kind of like the rule of thirds, where 33% feels very comfortable and very familiar, and then like the old way of doing things, and then 33% should be kind of like very borrowed from somebody too, and then or inspired by someone, and then 33% or the last third can be really innovative, new, unfamiliar. So that's kind of like, and then just players, gamers, like are very uncomfortable with that last third. And if you have 100% just new and innovative and kind of crazy, like people are gonna really be up in arms about that last third. So that balance really needs to come into play, like something familiar, something inspired, like just really get it. You know how to drop in and play right away. Like something else, it's just kind of like it's like X, it's like Y, or it's like Z, or it's like Clash of Clans. It's like a game that you've played and the mechanics kind of familiar with, and then something like somewhat just standard or solid what you expect the genre to be, and then that last third is like really what could be innovative. And if those are out of balance, it just is going to get a lot of feedback or sentiment that people are unhappy with it. So that's kind of how I think about that.
Rob, you bring up ownership and how important it is to SkateX. Where do you see like Web 2, right? We look at Fortnite, for perfect example, right? You own your skin, you buy it with V-Bucks, which is their in-game currency, but you don't really own the skin, right? There's no marketplace to trade it. You essentially rent it, right? There's no way to sell it back or anything. How important do you think it is for Web3 to integrate the ownership part and bring in those Web 2 gamers to really shed light on how important it is to own your game items, whether that be guns, skins, your account, how high it's been leveled up, how important it is to you guys over at BlockTech and SkateX moving forward?
That ownership piece is critical, and this new era of gaming, the new innovations, the new ability to own and have that verified, and like have a consensus of other people saying like, yeah, Grant really owns that, or Chris really owns it, Rob really owns it. Like that is like a really cool thing that like it pisses me off, kind of like I get angry that I can't, that I buy this, invest in my digital identity, and things that I think are cool, and like it doesn't persist. Like Epic or Fortnite, it could change, like, and I don't have any agency or any control over that. And so as a player, I hate that. So I think as a game maker, being able to really lean into that and give that opportunity to players is something wonderful. It's something strange right now too, and it should be like what a lot of players I think should care about. Like that back to Chris's question of like what is new, the new things going on in gaming is like it's really weird. Like I'm not to be out of touch with folks, but like a lot of gamers should be mad about not being able to own their things as well, versus what the promise of like blockchain or Web3 can give them. And I think there's so many just beautiful things that players should care about and not not be so worried about.
I thought it was interesting. You know, I'm a big Overwatch player, and we've played Overwatch before together. I thought it was interesting that Overwatch actually allowed you to bring the items that you have in your locker, whether that be your icons, your skins, your weapons that you have unlocked, over to Overwatch 2. And I think that's a very small example of, it's a very small sample size, right, of that ownership piece kind of transferring from game to game. Granted, it's a reskin, right? Overwatch 2 is essentially just a reskin UI UX update. And some bug fixes, but I do, the community, reception has been quite positive to that feature of Overwatch 2, saying, hey, look, we know what you've accomplished 6 years over playing Overwatch 1. Overwatch 2 will allow you to actually bring those things to this game, and I think that's really important as we move forward, and that's like something we're thinking about over at Universe, is like, when you buy this avatar, you will be able to use that avatar in each and every little mini game to big game, AAA level game that the franchise, kind of encapsulates. So I'm very excited about that piece, and I'm excited, to see that kind of play out over Web3 gaming.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on Grant's thing as well with what you guys are working on, and that interoperability piece is so fun, and like just the spirit of that question to me is really being able, who owns what, right? Like with music, and also, well, with your point of like, just uh, IP of things that we love, like Star Wars or Marvel, right? Like I've spent a lot of money on these, and why shouldn't they be able to exist in different games? Or like if I buy the book, like what is a piece that I need to own where I can use it everywhere or anywhere? Like why do I have to buy the same Darth Vader skin in every game? Like that's kind of confusing to me as a player. Like, or even music. Like why do I have to buy it to listen? To stream it and then to listen to it in a game and then or watch it on a movie. Like those, like a lot of this ideas need to be hammered out, and I think. In gaming, that's what kind of is going on right now too. And I think being able to use one piece of one asset, one game asset in different contexts is a beautiful thing. I love that you guys are trying to solve that, and I think we're trying to solve that too. Right now, it's as simple as a skateboard. We want it to be bigger, and like the avatar pieces, like things you can own in the game, and like it should persist in many different worlds, in many different universes. So I think that's really exciting.
I want to play devil's advocate here for a quick second and bring up
That's
yet
cool.
another Kabammer, Eric Kress, who on many occasions, if you listen on the Deconstructor of Fun podcast writer, if you listen to him talk, he's talked about sort of what items in Web3. He's not real high on Web3 gaming, from what I
Hater.
can tell, or from what he said, right? And one of his points is, and I want to get this, because one of the things I liked about SkateX and one of the things that we're doing at Unioverse, right, is his whole notion is that you can't, like, part of video gaming and video game assets is sort of planned obsolescence, right? Like if you have a gun with a certain weapon or a certain power, you don't want to go back to something lower, right? And so who would want to buy your broke gun, right? You know what I mean? Like your busted old gun on an open market, right? As opposed to, I think SkateX gets around this, right? Because you're buying a skateboard that you can ride, and there's no, like, I don't think there's a power level associated with the skateboard, right? Well, I mean, it's more like an aesthetic thing. Like, this is my skateboard. It's designed by Hydro or L'Amour Supreme or whomever, right? And so it's kind of the way you express yourself online, and you can find it online. So do you think that there is a limited sort of inventory of things that are worth being Web3, like sellable digital goods?
I don't. I understand the point, but I think as you can build, as there's more agency and more usefulness around the assets, like if you have that particular weapon, or I I I don't like war games. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So like skateboards, like if you can be have that in your tournament, like you could keep all these passport stamps, or like in if you play Fortnite, and if you're in the game or spectating, when certain influencers or players that you're fans of achieve certain achievements, like there's other things that the stats go into your that are now like you can have this record, this history of what you've done. So I think that makes it really interesting. And it could be the old crappy gun that isn't as powerful, but it was, at the game at the time, like it was a weapon or an object that is unique and valuable. And like, what if what are the things that are valuable from when like Aaron Judge just hit his 67th home run, like the ticket stubs, those are kind of cool. If you were at that game, there's proof of you being at the game. Like, what are those things in the gaming sense? Like, I think there are other interesting things that can happen, and then like these are keys to unlock other things like that you get benefits of, like, oh, okay, I want to reward all the people who are playing the game during the Travis Scott concert. Like, you get Travis Scott, you know extra things. So it's just that reward system that you could build upon it. There's just new systems that this new digital key, the contract, like enables to keep your players engaged and give them benefits that they care about. And you could see this history now with them. So it's just persistent with the objects that persist.
I mean, like on that take from that individual about the the Web3 side and like wanting to use a weathered down gun or whatever the case is, or a gun that's a little bit beat up. Like, we could take this even to an extra layer that interests me personally. Like, back in Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty in like 2010, 2011, there was modding going on, like especially on the Xbox 360 servers and the PlayStation 3 servers. That's when PlayStation 3 was hosting that game. And kids, and I did this too, like some kids are, they're money rich, time poor. And then, flip side. So what you would do is like, you'd pay these guys that modded your account and they would max out your account, because these emblems and these skins on the camouflages on the guns were just so rare. Like, you had to go hit X amount of headshots. You had to go capture so many flags, or you had to get a nuke. And so things like that, when you completed these challenges, you were rewarded with these emblems and call tags and all these extra things. And so you would actually pay these guys $20 to go actually do that. But think about if you took that $20 and say, hey, there's a marketplace for you to buy an account, right, through Call of Duty or whatever the case is, marketplace, you could actually buy an account that's already fully loaded. And then, you take this an extra step further to even Fortnite. Fortnite and Epic Games was doing this a couple years ago, when you had skins like the Renegade Raider, the Skull Trooper, the Raven, all these different really rare Fortnite skins that came out in the early days of Fortnite, that Fortnite gamified it, right? They didn't even re-release a lot of these skins, and when they did, they were not the original version. They were actually a very it was a exact replica of the skin, but some small differences, right? Whether it be color or whatever the case is. And kids were it was a very popular business at the time of selling Fortnite lockers. It was locker sales. And so I think about, that's the value in it for me, where I think about, there might be a guy that has this skin case, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want all the skins or the call tags that he has, whether it be Overwatch 2 or Fortnite or whatever the case is. I would actually go buy and pay a certain amount of soul for that. And that's by no means appreciated. It's just, another man's trash is another man's treasures, right? He might value it differently than I do. And so I think that's where the real value is the ownership part and being able to sell that.
And you're right. And there's other examples in like kind of the analog or like physical world that gives like, I can make the argument. I don't mean to discredit Eric. Like, I think I don't know.
No, go ahead.
I don't know if I'm thinking about what he's saying.
He can
wrong,
take it,
or what I'm interpreting as he's saying is wrong. But I think even that power law that he's talking about, or the structure of the systems, that like I understand like the nerfing of weapons, and like you want, that is one kind of path that a player takes, right? And I think the thing that is interesting is we're open up many different avenues that the players will go down now that make it compelling of why you want to collect or own and make items that are valuable to them.
So you had said games, I think earlier in this conversation, you had said games that are coming out now, sort of like Web3 games right now. What are some that you've seen that you're like, oh, this is like either the future, or what they're doing is really cool, or, things that people can actually, not like promises, right? Like these things are gonna be something, but things that are actually coming to market that are.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how tightly you define a game too. Like, I actually am really, really impressed with Steppen. I think their economy, we could talk about that. They're trying to fix it, but I think, like the move to earn kind of movement is very interesting. Like, Genopets is live and kind of working now too, and they're starting to see great traction there. I think like the move to earn kind of games are kind of fun. I enjoy them, and I think they did some innovative things there. I mean, I love kind of that metaversey type like Pokemon Go like hunting thing. But the General Pets and Steppen like I think are the first ones that you can actually play. There's a few other that are live on mobile now that are good. I want to say amazing, but I've been able to prototype some of the games, and this actually in the next 2 months, there's like some launches. Forgive me, I don't want to talk about it because I have been privileged to, very gratefully got to prototype some of these. So I probably shouldn't talk about them and let them tell their story a little bit more. But in the next 2 months, there are some games that just fidelity wise and even just play wise, like they're fun, the story's great, and the fidelity is really impressive.
Cool. Um, what I'm curious about is, as you are like developing your game and coming to market, right, with SkateX, there seems to be this tension between NFT enthusiasts and core gamers or gamers, right? Right? Like core gamers want nothing to do with NFTs, right? And you're trying to build a game and you need sort of the early adopter NFT enthusiasts to get your game, like to get excitement around your game and to get like the NFTs moving and to create sort of a buzz around it. How do you think you can thread that needle between appeasing sort of these early adopters, but then not at the risk of alienating the people you want down the road
Yeah.
as well?
Are, Grant, aren't you're a core gamer,
I'm a
right?
core. I would say I'm a core gamer. You're a core gamer too, though. I mean, I don't sell yourself
Yes.
short.
No, I know, but I don't hate NFTs. So I have a weird bubble maybe around me. I don't know any core gamers who hate NFTs. I
I do.
Well, if you
I
listen
do.
to the Core Gaming podcast, they will they despise it. Even if did you see the trailer
I
for
did,
Mythic
and
Quest
also
season
like
3?
Ubisoft, which like yeah, some of the gamers there like were very vocal, but I don't know a lot. Like it's really weird, and I probably do live in a bubble where a lot of the folks that I talk to are crypto, interested and like are willing to do that. So, I still have the question though, of, like who are these core gamers who hate NFTs? I'd love to talk to you like in a very friendly way. I just have questions. I don't know who they are, and I I think they are very vocal and it's a, but I might be wrong. I think that it's a small group. But to your point, like I think right now the people who really are crypto savvy and gamers that kind of that overlap of the might not be the biggest either, but I think that's exciting because we get to invite a lot of people to have their first crypto experience, and I I really want to do that well, and I think there's a lot of I treat that as like a really big privilege, and I'm grateful to introduce people of how to do crypto. I think it's such an important technology that we need to everyone should learn how to use cryptocurrency and cryptography and like and be able to transact and like have a wallet and as a gamer like I just know that it's a lot of friction, right? It's hard, and I don't think that I'm not assuming like oh, everyone should have like be it's so easy to get a wallet and to learn how to fund it with with Ethereum or with Solana or like I think these are hard things, and I think the privilege of games is we need to welcome like really the next users for this. So the threading of that is difficult. Like I really appreciate that this is a hard thing to do, but I think I do view it as my responsibility and my privilege to invite folks to use crypto, and I think games do teach behaviors that are going to be really important to be good citizens of the world, right? So I think crypto is going to help in a lot of different ways. So I think gaming, as it's really important that we can make the user experience very, very gamer friendly, and that is going to be, I think, the the edge that either welcomes people or turns them away. And there's a lot of things that are bad, like there's a lot of FUD or just like negativity and like even some of the other folks like who are just chasing a quick buck or have they're scams, right? Like it's been embarrassing to see part of our my new colleagues and like just how they treat users, and shame on us. Like that's even our own, like we're the worst people to teach people about crypto too.
Yeah, I mean, when at my time at Rally, when we were working with various streamers, it was very difficult, right? Because like, for example, when working with some of the Optic guys that I was had the privilege of working with, they understood it, right? They understood, how crypto works and the pros and the cons of it for sure, but there was always like two things that they pointed to, and I felt like when these two things, like I don't know if these two things will ever go away because these are just events that happened, but it really put a black mark on a lot of like the way community received crypto. And one was obviously FaZe Save the Kids, right? Like when Save the Kids issue happened with FaZe Clan and some FaZe members were kicked because of it, it really made people distrust the positives of crypto, right? Where you can actually start up these funds and, start these wallets to donate to charity, and gaming was kind of pushing that. And then the second one, which was not shortly after, and he just was not apologetic about it, was Ice Poseidon, right? And he just owned it. He was just like, hey, look, it was so easy for me to scam people in my community. And from then and moving forward, I felt like Web3, especially in the esports scene, was not very excited about, crypto. And I think that carries over to Web3 gaming. And whenever they hear Web3, that is such a buzzword that's thrown around now at this point on every call. They think about cryptocurrency and scams instead of the interoperability of these things and the blockchain and the data ownership and things like that. And I think that's the obstacle to get over, right? Is we have to kind of right or wrong. And I think that's going to be really difficult. But I think with games like SkateX, like Unioverse, and other games that are coming out soon, I think it's possible. I definitely do think it's possible. Rob, so you come from a mobile game background, as we mentioned. When did you realize that blockchain and gaming, there was a marriage there? And when did you is there a time where you go, aha, there was that moment, right? Like, I'm going to go do this. When was that for you? And if you can recall, like, where were you at? Like,
There's one seed that was planted very early in my experience with blockchain. So I was at a developer dinner with one of the app stores, and it was a lot of the bigger developers, and there was someone that I had never seen or met before. And everyone else were pretty much like the standard people you'd see and standard companies. So I sat next to this gentleman at dinner, and he at some point we were kind of showing like what we build, and I showed him our games from Kabam, and he showed me his app that he was building. And then he was like, hey, like if you give me your email address, I'll give you some Bitcoin. And I was like, okay. And so he gave it to me, and then he walked me through this, and I that's my first experience. That was Brian Armstrong. So he was at the developer dinner, and if you look at my Coinbase, you could see that Brian Armstrong sent me my first small amount, but and I actually didn't claim it because I still was somewhat skeptical. So that was on mobile. That was my first experience with cryptocurrency, and this is like way back in like 2014. So that is kind of a seed that was planted, right? And it's just the mobile and my first experience with crypto, and like that money could be sent, and like how this could be useful in our games, even at Kabam, like at the time, like was kind of the first seeds. And then later, Kabam sold, and I went to 20th Century Fox. They spun out, sold it to Disney, and the Disney to Scopely. And then I got to work with the Kabam team again at Forte, and this is where I really dig deep into crypto, into blockchain. And this is where I was really convinced, like this, I'm going to help build the next games on blockchain. So that's where the kind of what we're building now, the genesis came from.
how much different would it be? You mentioned Kabam. How much different would it be if Kabam was built in like a blockchain environment? Like if you could imagine Kings of Camelot, the Avengers games the Marvel games you guys have worked on, what changes and how does it benefit exponentially? Or do you feel like, hey, at that time, those type of games that were on the App Store, the free to play, very like kind of pay as you go, was that the right mechanism, or do you think blockchain would have completely accelerated that and blown it out of the water?
No, I mean, even Ben is very authentic about this. He's the co-founder of Block Tackle, and my co-founder we met also at Kabam. Um, and this is one of his the products that he led is Kingdoms of Camelot. So he knows that people spent years, countless hours and a lot of money on the game and then his experience with players and like people got married, people had kids in the community, right? Like so that community aspect persists. I think that's a really fun thing about games, like that the community aspect makes sense, and also in this new era of gaming, like people understand the community aspect. But what was different is like when people wanted to leave or wanted to end the game, they we observed that people would sell their accounts on eBay, which was against the terms of service, and I don't think a lot came out of that, but it's just saw that there was a desire for people to recapture some of their investment of either time, money, heartache, tears, like into the game. So there's no way to get all this time that you spent and money that you spent back in any way, like officially. So I think that piece is something that we're excited to solve, and that persistence of your accounts and like not being able to, if you're you're a builder alongside of us, and if you're unhappy, there's a way for you to move.
Rob, we're going to try a real quick lightning round. I'm going to give you at least one word. You're going to give me one word back to describe it, or it's going to be an either or. It'd be like chocolate or vanilla. You'd pick chocolate. So first, one word to give back. Solana. What word comes to mind on this one?
Proficient.
Ethereum or Bitcoin?
ETH.
Okay. Stephen Curry. No comment. Keep moving. Fortnite.
I'll say GOAT for Steph
Okay.
Curry.
All right. Fortnite.
Right? Skins.
Steam. DeFi or NFTs?
NFTs.
Last one. You don't have to answer this. I know that you have a relationship with both, but I am curious. OpenSea versus Magic Eden.
Fractals.
There you go. Wow. Very interesting. Shout out Justin Kahn. Well, that's the lightning round. I wanted to kind of throw that at you and kind of get some quick points. I appreciate you being a good sport about it.
All right. Well, Rob Oshima, you are the co-founder of Block Tackle, which is making SkateX, the extreme sports MMO. You're also an entrepreneur in residence at Solana. Where do you want to send people to learn more about these exciting things?
Check us out at skatex.io or don't at me at Rob Oshima.
So you heard it. Don't at him
Rob.
at Rob Oshima. Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.